What's going on, guys? Welcome back, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Mandalorian Chapter 13, The Jedi. Now, I'm not going to talk any non-spoilers, because this episode is basically just a giant spoiler, so if you haven't seen it, please click off and then come back once you've seen the episode, because there's a lot to talk about here. So, we waste no time. We start off, we're on Corvus, and we see Ahsoka Tano taking out a bunch of dudes. That was cool. I'm not the biggest fan of Ahsoka killing people, but I thought Rosario Dawson did a great job in the action scenes. She perfectly captured Ahsoka's mannerisms from the animated shows, and it was just a really nice tribute to the fans of the other shows, and just, it really showed a lot of respect for fans of the other shows, me included, as a fan of Clone Wars. Not the biggest fan of Rebels, but it was still nice to see her here, and they really captured her well. I think Rosario Dawson was as close as perfect casting as you can get for a character like this in live action. So, Ahsoka's fighting some dudes. We find out there's this magistrate basically enslaving this town, and Ahsoka wants some information from her, which the information she wants from her is not what I expected, but Mando shows up with the child, goes into the town, and the magistrate is like, hey, I'll give you this Beskar spear if you capture and kill this Jedi that's annoying me. So then he goes out to look for Ahsoka, and eventually does find her out in the forest. We do see Morai briefly, the owl, who is the embodiment of the daughter, and that was cool to see Ahsoka fight him, as brief as it was. I didn't know Beskar was resistant to lightsabers, so that was really cool. And he just goes, hey, don't fight me, Bo-Katan sent me, I want to talk to you. And she's like, you better be talking about him. And she points to the child, and they sit around a campfire, and we find out that the child's real name is Grogu, and because Ahsoka and him are able to communicate through the Force, and that he was trained on the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, and was raised there until Order 66, where someone rescued him from the Jedi Temple and hid him away, and after that his memory went dark. So that was really cool, and there's a lot of mystery there, like who rescued him, and why did his memory go dark? Not really clear. But they do try to train him. Ahsoka mentions that the only other member of the species she's seen is Master Yoda. And they play Yoda's theme, which was really beautiful. But they go off to train Baby Yoda, and Mando's able to get him to use the Force on this little the little lever stick from the first season. And she goes, I can't train him because he has a special bond with you, and that could lead to hate and anger and lead him down a dark path, and I have seen that happen before, and I don't want to lead him down the same path. And she's obviously alluding to Anakin Skywalker, who was her master. Which was really, that line really hits deep when you, like, think about it. You know, her story up to this point really, really hits you in the heart, really hits you in the feels. But they come up with a plan. Mando's like, hey, will you train the child if I help you? And she doesn't really say anything. But they just kind of go into the town, and they come up with a plan. She kills a bunch of dudes, and I mean, I don't really love that. It feels out of character because this is the same character that wanted to spare all the clones and didn't want to kill any of them. But I understand that, you know, she's more, like, hardened edge now. She's got a more hardened edge side, and she's going to do what has to be done, even if that means basically slaughtering a bunch of guards and stuff. So, I can see that, but it just doesn't feel like Ahsoka to me. But that might just be me. Maybe I'll get used to it when we see her in more stuff. But she breaks into the building with the magistrate or whatever in the courtyard, and she pulls out her little Beskar spear, and they have a little fight. Mando's chatting with the other guy, something Bean. I forget the guy's first name, but Mr. Bean or whatever. I don't remember the actor's name. I'm sorry. But he has a chat with the guy, and it's kind of an interesting chat. But then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to shoot you with my other gun." When he does a little fake out, putting his gun down, Mando shoots him. And they liberate the town. Ahsoka holds a lightsaber to the lady's neck after beating her and goes, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And I was like, whoa, okay. So we do know that Ezra and Thrawn are off in the unknown regions, and Ahsoka and Sabine were looking for her. We don't see Sabine, so I don't know what's going on there, but we do know that Ahsoka was looking for Ezra, so I do believe she's still looking for Ezra. And Thrawn clearly still has these little groups, these little cartels still working for him, so that was kind of interesting. But Ahsoka does give the Mandalorian the Beskar spear, which does mean that he does now have a weapon that he can use in combat against Moff Gideon, which is pretty cool. So I was like, how is he going to fight him one-on-one in one-on-one combat? But now I can see how they can make that work. But he's like, oh, Baby Yoda, we gotta say goodbye. But then Ahsoka's like, I'm sorry, I lied to you, I can't train him. But there is a possibility. Go to this Jedi Temple on Typhon, I believe, and he can choose his path there, and maybe a Jedi will come find him. So that was pretty cool. I believe they're alluding to Luke Skywalker because Ezra Bridger is still MIA, from what I understand. So I believe they're alluding to Luke Skywalker possibly showing up, which would be pretty cool. I don't know how they're going to do that. Sebastian Stan, DH, Mark Hamill, whatever it is, I think it'll be cool. But basically, they head off and they leave Ahsoka there and she goes back to the town. So we have a lot of mysteries here. Because I liked the way they handled Ahsoka in this episode, because she didn't overstay her welcome to a point where she overshadowed the Mandalorian's story, because this is still the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda's story. But we do know there's a separate story going on with her that could potentially be explored in a future live-action show or animated show or anything, really. But it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it doesn't overshadow the Mandalorian's story, which I thought was really good. And I thought that Dave Filoni directed this episode really well. I think it was the best directed episode from him so far. Better than Chapter 5, better than Chapter 1. Really well shot. The action scene, the fight between Ahsoka and the Magistrate, was probably my favorite action scene of the show, at least in terms of one-on-one combat. It was really well shot. The cinematography was great, and the choreography was great. Loved it all. So there's a lot of mysteries here. Did Ahsoka get the information she wanted? Did she kill the Magistrate? What's going on? There's a lot of mystery. And where's Bo-Katan? Is she going after Moff Gideon? But we do know that Mando now has a weapon that he can fight Moff Gideon with, and we know that Moff Gideon is still on their tail. So we got 3 episodes left. Looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. Please let me know all your thoughts on The Mandalorian Chapter 13, The Jedi, in the comments below. And of course, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.